Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
At least 19 Palestinians were killed and several others wounded in violent bombardments carried out today by the Israeli army against various districts of Gaza. The World Food Programme has announced an increase in its operations across Sudan as part of its intensified efforts to reach millions of people in need in the country. Negotiations between nearly 200 countries are continuing into extra time today at the UN Climate Change Conference in Baku after developing countries rejected an initial offer of a financial commitment from developed countries. Those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. Good afternoon. The arrest of Boualem Sansal, the pseudo-intellectual revered by the French extreme right, has aroused the indignation of French professionals who rose up against this revisionist. In a comment, the Algerian news press agency APS, which described the polemic as yet another evidence about the existence of a movement of hate against Algeria and a lobby that uses all opportunities to question Algerian sovereignty. The agency underlined that the lobby's schemes has been revealed by the exploitation by one of its supporters, Kamel Daoud, of the pain of a victim of terrorism in Algeria with the aim of winning the Goncourt Award. Macron's France is no stranger to such contradiction. The same Macron who speaks of crimes against humanity in Algeria in connection with the French occupation, who admits the state's historical recognition of murder in the case of Ali Boumendjel, Maurice Audin or Laha Ben Mehdi, by even sending his ambassador with a wreath of the grave of the martyr Ben Mehdi, defends a negationist who calls into question the existence, independence, history, sovereignty and borders of Algeria. In short, with every outbreak of anti-Algerian fever, Paris accuses Algiers of all evils, with Algeria always acts according to the principle of coherence, accusing Algeria of undermining the freedom of expression, while the French continue to hold the founder of Telegram, a global platform for expression, Pavel Durov, confirming the existence of such a polemic in which Sansal is only used as a puppet. At least 19 Palestinians were killed and several others wounded in violent bombardments carried out today by the Israeli army against various districts of Gaza. The news agency WAFA quoted the civil defense as saying that the bombardments launched today at dawn targeted the northern area of Nusayrat, Gaza's city center, as well as the southern towns of Khan Yunis and Rafah. At least 120 people have been killed over the past 24 hours, raising to over 44,000 the number of Palestinians killed since the Israeli occupying authorities launched their operations on Gaza over 1 year ago. This came as the Palestinian Health Ministry warned that the hospital throughout the Gaza Strip would cease or reduce their activities within 48 hours on account of fuel shortages. The World Health Organization expressed its concerns at the situation of scores of patients, including some in intensive care, as well as the Kamel Adwan Hospital, one of the two hospitals still partly functioning in the northern part of Gaza. In the meantime, 11 people were killed in airstrikes launched by the Israeli army against a residential area in the center of the capital of Beirut. The Israeli strike, which destroyed a building in the district of Basta, also hit the capital's southern suburb. The Israeli attacks, relentlessly targeting Lebanon since last September, have claimed over 3,600 lives so far. The World Food Programme has announced an increase in its operation across Sudan as part of its intensified efforts to reach millions of people in the country's most vulnerable and isolated conflict zones. The UN humanitarian agency said that more than 700 trucks carrying WFP food aid are on their way to communities across Sudan. This includes the 14 locations that the agency classifies as hotspots because the severity of the food insecurity and the risk of famine in these areas. The trucks will be carrying around 17,500 tons of food aid enough to feed 1.5 million people for a month. The first convoy of food aid has arrived at the Zamzam camp in North Darfur, where famine has already been confirmed, while other convoys are still on their way to other hard-to-reach areas. According to its statement, WFP has sought to reach all isolated conflict areas across Sudan. The team in Sudan is working around the clock to ensure that families have the vital food they need to survive. The WFP convoy that arrived in Zamzam in North Darfur was the first convoy to reach the camp since the famine was confirmed in August. Fighting around El Fasher, the capital of North Darfur, and impassable roads caused the rainy season, which runs from June to September, have been disrupting food aid deliveries for several months. The executive director of the World Food Programme, Cindy McCain, recently visited Port Sudan, where she stressed the need for sustainable and secure access to prevent the spread of famine and deal with an emergency that could become one of the worst food crises in modern history. WFP also said it needs funding of $16.9 billion to address the increasing famine in various parts of the world in a report on the forecast for 2025, which assesses the need for food security. The Secretary-General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has strongly condemned a deadly attack in the northwestern Pakistani province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. The attack targeted 3 tourist vehicles, killing at least 42 people and wounding 20 others. The spokesman for the Secretary-General, Stéphane Dujarric, said that Mr. Guterres stressed that the attacks on civilians were unacceptable. Mr. Guterres expressed his deepest condolences to the families of the victims and to the Pakistani government, and called on the Pakistani authorities to conduct an investigation and to ensure that those responsible are held to account. Ukraine has called on its Western allies to provide last-generation anti-air defense systems to ensure its protection in the aftermath of the ballistic missiles attack launched by Russia on the town of Dnipro. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry has already confirmed having had contacts with Ukraine's partner to acquire such equipment. You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. Negotiations between nearly 200 countries are continuing into extra time today at the UN Climate Change Conference in Baku after developing countries rejected an initial offer of a financial commitment from developed countries. The developed countries, mainly the European Union and the United States, play their cards on the 12th and final official day of the COP29 on Friday, as they are proposing to increase their commitment to climate funding for poorer countries from the current $100 billion a year to $250 billion by 2035. This figure was deemed unacceptable by the African countries, given the disasters they are suffering and the tremendous energy needs. The small island states denounced the disregard for their vulnerable peoples, stressing that with inflation, the real financial effort would be much lower. The developing countries put their demands at between $500 and $1.3 billion a year to help them move away from fossil fuels and adapt to global warming. According to renowned economist Ammar Batashariya, Vera Songwe and Nicholas Stern, commissioned by the UN, rather than $250 billion, the figure should be $300 billion. Let's recall that any agreement at the COP29 must be adopted by consensus of all countries. That's it for today's news bulletin. I invite you now to listen to a special program by my colleague Saïd Bourazi, followed by our weekly program by my colleague Asya Bakkar.
Hello and welcome to our weekly program devoted to Algerian economic news. First in the news, Sonatrach CEO Rashid Hashishi has held a meeting with the representative of the German Agency for International Development and Cooperation, GIZ, accompanied by the representative of the Algerian German Chamber of Industry and Commerce, AHK. At this meeting, held in the presence of Sonatrach's senior management, discussions focused on the prospects for Algerian-German cooperation regarding green hydrogen and renewable energy projects in which GIZ is involved, according to a statement by the public group. The participation of Sonatrach in the European Hydrogen Week aims to strengthen cooperation with foreign partners and exchange on areas related to the development of hydrogen and renewable energies. The Minister of Foreign Trade and Export Promotion, Mohammed Bukhari, has highlighted the importance of combining the efforts of all actors and the effectiveness of performance to achieve increased exports outside hydrocarbons. In a statement to the press at the headquarters of the Presidency of the Republic following the working meeting chaired by the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, devoted to exports, Mohammed Bukhari specified that this meeting was extremely important and is part of the policy of the President of the Republic to diversify the national economy, especially in the field of non-hydrocarbon exports. The National Agricultural Mutual Fund CNMA aims to increase its market share in the field of industrial risk insurance over the next 2 years, according to sources from a regional seminar in Iran. The CNMA plans to increase its market share in industrial risk insurance by 5% to 10% in 2025 and 2026, said Rabah Mikirsha, Director of Industrial Risk at the CNMA, in a statement on the sidelines of this meeting. The official indicated that the CNMA is working to get closer to economic operators in order to expand its current share, which is about 14% in the field of insurance related to industrial risks. He also underlined that the CNMA, with a market share of 70%, is a pioneer in the field of agricultural risks at national level, stating that CNMA offers a range of products adapted to support economic operators and protect their industrial assets as well as their production units against various risks. More in our program. The Secretary General of the Ministry of Agriculture, Rural Development and Fisheries, Hamid Ben Saad, has said in Algiers that Algerian dates, all varieties combined, are now exported to more than 90 countries across the continent, welcoming the strong international interest and growing demand for this product. The Ministry's Secretary General spoke at a press conference held on the sidelines of the opening of the second International Date Show, which was held at the exhibition hall under the slogan Our Dates, Authenticity and Sustainable Economy, in the presence of Kemal Rizig, advisor to the President of the Republic in charge of Trade Supply Control and Import-Export, and El Hadi Bakir, Secretary General of the Ministry of Internal Trade and Regulation of the National Market, as well as ambassadors and members of the diplomatic corps accredited in Algeria. The Commission for the Organization and Supervision of Stock Exchange Operations, COSOB, has recently granted a visa to open the capital of the first startup in view of its entry into the Algiers Stock Exchange, said the chairman of the Commission, Youssef Bouznada, considering this as a sign of the growing interest of economic actors in the financial market. In a statement to APS, the manager of the Algiers Stock Exchange said that the green light has recently been given for the opening of the capital of a startup operating in the field of services in order to introduce it into the growth market of the Algiers Stock Exchange. This is the electronic consultation platform Mustashir, which connects entrepreneurs and economic enterprises with Algerian and foreign consultants active in various fields: law, export and import, artificial intelligence, etc. And to wind up our program, the importance of developing new waste recovery channels has been highlighted in Algiers during a day of study on port waste, organized as part of the activities of the 8th International Waste Recovery and Recovery Exhibition, REVADE, held at the Pain Maritime Exhibition Hall. The head of the Prevention Department at the National Waste Agency, AND, Sabrine Begar, indicated that the adoption of selective sorting in ports, combined with awareness-raising work targeting all stakeholders in these places, fishermen, restaurants, associations, is able to create opportunities for the recovery of waste generated from these places and to bring out recycling chains for this waste. And with this, we come to the end of our weekly program devoted to Algerian economic news. Goodbye.
to Echoes of Time, and today we embark on a journey to discover one of history's most fascinating empires, the Byzantine Empire. For over 1,000 years, this empire stood as a cultural, political, and religious bridge between Europe and Asia. The Byzantine Empire wasn't just a continuation of Rome, it was a unique civilization that fused Greco-Roman traditions with the influences of the East, from the splendor of Constantinople to its monumental contributions to art, law, and religion. The Byzantine story is one of resilience and transformation. Today, we'll explore its rise, its golden ages, the challenges it faced, and its lasting legacy. The story of the Byzantine Empire begins with Constantine the Great, one of history's most transformative leaders. In 330 CE, he founded the city of Constantinople on the site of ancient Byzantium, a Greek colony. Why Constantinople? Its location was strategic. Perched on the Bosporus Strait, it connected Europe and Asia while controlling key trade routes between the Mediterranean and the Black Sea. Constantine's decision wasn't just about geography, it was also symbolic. By moving the Roman capital eastward, he laid the groundwork for a new chapter in history. Constantinople, often called the New Rome, quickly became a cosmopolitan hub where East met West. Its markets buzzed with goods from as far as China and India, and its streets were adorned with Roman columns, Christian churches, and Eastern motifs. Another defining aspect of Constantine's reign was his embrace of Christianity. He legalized the religion and convened the First Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, which established foundational Christian doctrines. By doing so, Constantine set the stage for Byzantium to become not just a political power but a spiritual one too. Constantine laid the foundations. Emperor Justinian I and his wife, Empress Theodora, turned Byzantium into a glittering jewel. Justinian, who ruled from 527 to 565 CE, was a man of grand ambition. He dreamed of restoring the Roman Empire to its former glory, and for a time, he succeeded. Under Justinian's military campaigns, led by the brilliant general Belisarius, the Byzantine Empire reclaimed parts of North Africa, Italy, and even southern Spain. These victories were celebrated, but they came at a great cost, draining the empire's treasury and spreading its forces thin. But Justinian's legacy isn't just about conquest. He's best remembered for the Corpus Juris Civilis, or the body of civil law. This monumental codification of Roman laws didn't just shape Byzantium. It became the foundation of legal systems in Europe and beyond, influencing laws we still use today. Theodora, Justinian's wife, was equally remarkable. A former actress with a controversial past, she became a powerful co-ruler. Theodora was a champion of women's rights, advocating for laws to protect women from abuse and granting them more legal autonomy. Her influence during the Nicaea riots, a massive uprising in Constantinople, helped save the empire when she convinced Justinian not to flee but to stand his ground. And then there is the Hagia Sophia, Justinian's crowning architectural achievement. Completed in 537 CE, this magnificent cathedral with its soaring dome seemed to defy gravity. For nearly 1,000 years, it was the largest church in Christendom and remains one of the world's architectural wonders. Its mosaics, shimmering with gold, still tell stories of faith and empire. Justinian's reign marked a high point. The Byzantine Empire's story is one of constant struggle and adaptation. Surrounded by powerful neighbors, Byzantium was frequently at war. The empire's strategic location made it both a prize and a target. One of its most enduring challenges was the rise of Islam in the 7th century. The Arab caliphates launched waves of invasions, capturing key territories like Syria, Egypt, and North Africa regions that had been vital to Byzantine strength. Yet Byzantium survives thanks in part to its military innovations like Greek fire, a mysterious incendiary weapon that helped repel naval attacks. Internally, the empire faced its own crises. Religious disputes, such as the iconoclasm controversy in the 8th and 9th centuries, divided society. Iconoclasts, those who opposed the veneration of religious images, clashed with iconophiles, leading to periods of turmoil. These debates weren't just theological, they were deeply political, reflecting power struggles within the empire. Despite these challenges, Byzantium was remarkably resilient. Its economy, bolstered by trade and a stable currency, remained strong for centuries. Constantinople's markets were legendary, offering silks from China, spices from India, and furs from the north. Byzantium also played a critical role in persevering knowledge. While Western Europe plunged into the Dark Ages, Byzantine scholars kept the works of ancient Greek and Roman thinkers alive. They copied and studied texts by Plato, Aristotle, and Hippocrates, ensuring this knowledge would eventually flow back to Europe during the Renaissance. By the 14th century, the Byzantine Empire was a shadow of its former self. Encircled by the rising Ottoman Turks, it had lost most of its territory, reduced to Constantinople and a few surrounding areas. The final blow came in 1453 when Sultan Mehmed II, known as Mehmed the Conqueror, laid siege to Constantinople. The city's defenders were vastly outnumbered, but they held out heroically for 53 days. Ultimately, the Theodosian walls, which had protected the city for centuries, were breached by Ottoman cannons. The fall of Constantinople was more than the end of an empire. It was a turning point in world history. The Ottoman Turks established a new capital there, renaming it Istanbul, while Byzantine scholars fled westward, carrying precious manuscripts that would ignite the European Renaissance. Even in defeat, Byzantium's influence endured. Its art, architecture, and religious traditions shaped Eastern Europe and Russia, where the Orthodox Church carried on a spiritual legacy of the empire. The Byzantine Empire's story is one of extraordinary resilience. For over a millennium, it stood at the crossroads of civilizations, influencing the world in ways that are still visible today. Its legal innovations shaped modern system of justice. Its art and architecture, from glittering mosaics to the awe-inspiring Hagia Sophia, continue to inspire. And its role as a preserver of knowledge ensured that the wisdom of the ancients would not be lost. But perhaps the greatest legacy of Byzantium is its reminder that even in the face of relentless challenges, adaptation and perseverance can create a lasting impact. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the Byzantine Empire. I hope you've enjoyed in covering the echoes of this remarkable civilization. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the past.
إذاعة الجزائر الدولية، إشراقة جديدة كل صباح إطلالة على آخر المستجدات الوطنية والعربية والدولية على مدار الساعة.